We continue our Western Spring tonight, swinging on out towards Avondale, Arizona once again. The Speed Times Plus Cup Series had one heck of a show over here on Thursday night, and we get set to do it all over again. A little bit longer this time. 150 laps will set this track alight for the tire melting 150. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Ola Rempel alongside Mike Braun, bringing you all the action from Race 3 of the TNGG IEL Truck Series. Mike, it was a pretty exciting race at Daytona to kick things off, and of course, Paul Witt taking a very huge win at Atlanta Motor Speedway in a race that ended up finishing behind the pace car. And of course, the speed race here finished under that caution flag as well. Could we be seeing the same thing here tonight at Phoenix with the trucks, or will we finally see this race finish under green flag conditions?
You know, with this track, it is definitely up for the air right now. You got those two tracks, both are a larger track. This is going to be a little bit smaller of a track. You know, being a 1 mile track, this is a real tight race. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be almost like a short track kind of a race where guys are going to be side by side, diving down into that cut section where they can drive down on the apron and just trying to get any advantage they have. But this is definitely going to be a lot trickier of a race, and we could see it under caution.
The chances are definitely higher than zero, but we've had some good races at Phoenix here in the past, hoping for another good one here tonight. As we take a look at the official point standings entering racing action here tonight, or at least we'll get an attempt to get to those point standings up. But I can tell you right now, it's going to be, I think, overall, one of the better runs that we've been seeing so far for the championship. Paul Witt with that race win, still with the lead. Now it's still early, but still, I mean, after 2 or 3 races, right, you usually see a bit of a bigger point spread than just 4 points throughout the top 4. It's next to nothing, and I think we could be in for one of the tighter points battles that this series has ever seen.
No, absolutely. Scott Rankin is always lurking in those shadows, just waiting to jump and pounce on somebody. But you got your 2 race winners up there on the top, Paul and Zane, leading the points. But you got Scott Rankin and Brad Slagle in the 4th spot. But, don't count out Michael Gudger and Aaron Raymond. Aaron had a great run with that off-season league that we ran. He had a great run in that whole thing, so definitely don't count him out.
And not counting out Aaron Rain, but of course, last week's race did not go the way he was expecting to. He got kicked up on his side in that big restart pileup that we saw coming out of turn number 4. So for Raymond, I think a little bit of work needs to be done to get that truck back in a fine form before we get this race officially underway. Qualifying is complete. We are now just waiting for this session to tick its way through, and we can get to green flag racing action. So while we are waiting, I want to give a big shout out to the folks that helped to keep the TNGG IEL Truck Series' lights on, and that would fall this time around to Network Alliance for Veterans. NAV is a program that informs veterans of programming availability and services throughout the northeast area of Indiana. Network Alliance also looks outside of Indiana for extra benefits and programs along with benefits veterans along with their families, all while promoting programs on the NAV site such as Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, and the Fraternal Order of Eagles. Cecil Ross networks with other organizations such as the Women Veterans Alliance out of California. Lastly, the Network Alliance of Veterans YouTube channel contains live stories and podcasts and does advertise various events and benefits. So NAV helping to keep the lights on here tonight from Avondale, Arizona. About 50 seconds left before we get this race fully underway. And like we said, right, I mean, Phoenix Raceway, it's a big place nowadays in the NASCAR, especially the NASCAR Cup Series scene, right, playing as the season finale to several of the top 3 rungs of the ladder, and even hosting ARCA races from time to time. But, I mean, we're putting this one pretty early in the season here, so I think anything could go.
No, absolutely. But it's going to be a big change from running on the big tracks like Daytona and Atlanta. This track does play completely different than those. This is a lot lower banking. This is still really high speed, but you really got to chase that tail end of the truck around on this track. You really got to watch how free you get in those turns, or else, somebody's going to come up behind you and just barely tap you, and you're going to go right around and end up in the wall because these trucks are so fast here.
Well, we've got ourselves with qualifying all wrapped up, so it's high time to take a rundown of what your starting grid is going to look like as we get set to go racing for a thrilling 150 laps around the Phoenix Raceway. Starting on the pole, you've got Carson Batall alongside Aaron Raymond on the front row. Julian Bellew and Scott Rankin start on row number 2. Row 3 It's Christopher Howell and Jim Duda, Brennan Gregg and Mike Bagwell in row 4, with Jeff Gilmore and John Held making his rookie start out of Can-Am, rounding out the top 10.
The 11th spot is your Daytona winner, Zane Bailey. Then Mike Allen right on the outside. In the 7th row, you've got John Holliday and Cody Ricketts. Paul Witt will be in the next row with George Rincon, Thomas Lane, and Brett Rucker in the 18th spot. And then 19th is Jamie Dunning and Luigi Gonzalez rounding out your top 20.
Brandon Groover starts at 21st with Zachary Groover in 22nd, making it a Two Brothers Racing, row number 11. Greg Pillar will be in the number 3 spot with Noah Swafford at 24th. Brad Slagle is 25th with Charlie Birch in 26th. John Bualda Jr. and Jordan McNair in 27th and 28th with Jim Colemansburg and Dale Rapp to round out the top 30.
Then in the 31st, you got Rick Snyder with Robert Amaral on the outside of him. Mike Campbell in the 33rd. Ryan McRoberts in 34th, R.J. Buchanan in 35th, Waylon McConnell right on the outside of him. Then you got Tom Golker in the 37th spot. 38th is Libyan Van Leer, and rounding out the field is Selena Thompson in the 39th spot.
Bottom 3 drivers not putting down qualifying spots, but they did make an effort, so I believe with that they should be allowed to still start this race overall. We're just waiting now on the last couple of drivers to get themselves gridded on up, and we'll see how this race is going to pan out. I mean, right now, Carson Bates, all of the Wanted Goons crew, in the lead of this race. Well, he started in the lead of this race. Now, remember, that 59 truck put down a lot of speed the last time we saw him out when he made his rookie debut at Phoenix last season. So I think that 59 truck could be a favorite to win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did set the pace in the qualifying round and definitely showed the fast way around, but you know, that 6 truck is always right there no matter what track you're on. Aaron Raymond is always right there, and starting right behind him is Scott Rankin. I mean, those two guys are seasoned veterans, and you know, those two guys can work together. I don't know what anybody could stop those two.
Well, he's going to be sent to the tail end of the field for this start of this race here. And it looks like Jeff Gilmore will be going to the tail end as well. This will have been for incidents down in last week's race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So for now, a few drivers going to be dropping towards the tail end of this field. That will put Aaron Raymond, that puts Julian Bellew now as the new race leader. See one more truck faded towards the tail end of the field here. I believe that's not Charlie Birch. That is Jim Duda in the 053. And we'll get one more lap where we get this race actually underway, as the TNGG admins just wanted to make sure that everything is nice and tidy before we get this race underway.
Yeah, it looks like end of the lines went to Jim Duda and Charlie Birchta and Jeff Gilmore, Ryan McRoberts, and Carson as well. So you got 5 guys that ended up 6 guys, Robert Amaral as well, all ended up with EOLs, so they will all be starting in the back.
So we'll see here how this race is going to pan on out, as Aaron Raymond will be taking this one around the outside, but Julian Bellew down on pole position. Going to be trying to make the best out of that starting spot of the number 51. This track really favors the inside line on the restarts. So who knows? I think we could be seeing that 51 Toyota Tundra really setting the pace early on. But defending defending championship runner-up Christopher Howell is right behind him, and he's got something to prove as well. Aaron Raymond, the defending champion, starts to his outside. We're happy that you join us here on this beautiful Saturday night. We'll work our way into turn numbers 3 and 4 and into the Geico restart zone. Green flags out. We're racing in Arizona.
2x2 action coming around there, but then it widens out to about 3 or 4 wide as those guys cutting down into that apron and just making it a little crazy. But here they come around onto the back straight for the first time by. You've got your leader Julian leading the way, Aaron Raymond tucking in right behind him. Got a couple trucks look like they were diving into pit lane there on that first lap out. Not sure what was going on with that, but you got 51 truck leading the way for the first time by.
That would have been Bellew along with Duda that both came into pit road. So the both of them potentially with something even with some more problems. They're coming out of the gate. Whoa! Bellew sideways for the lead coming out of turn number 2. Raymond gonna power through to the point as Julian Bellew with a huge mistake on lap number 2 coming around the first couple corners.
Talked about that on the lead end to this broadcast, is that tail end of these trucks likes to get a little free that's the fast way around, but there is a razor's edge that you got to keep that truck under and to be able to hang on to it. And those cold tires just did not lead to that very well.
So right now, Raymond, Howell, Bellew, Rankin, and Gregg round out the top 5. Side by side between Bagwell and Bailey for 6th and 7th. But so far, we're looking strong and everything's looking nice and organized as this field hightails it off of turn number 4 and down the pit straight. Right now, nothing really too amiss going on in this field. This has been a very organized start to the racing action so far. Howell to the inside of Raymond.
Good run off of turn 2 there, but here comes Raymond around that high outside line. They get under braking a little bit. Raymond running that high line around, trying to get the RPMs up as they come across the line and just cuts down into that apron, trying to get that little bit shorter line. But Raymond taking the racetrack, trying to keep his RPMs up and trying to stay around that high line there. But we were talking about it in the our pre-production meeting about where the start-finish line is here, and it's definitely an interesting way of having it. Oh, they get touched side by side there, but interesting spot for that the start-finish line here, kind of off that weird dog leg, and just leads for interesting restarts like we were talking about. But Raymond getting a good run off that high side, trying to stay up on that high side of Christopher Howell.
Still trying to get some kind of momentum around the top side of the racetrack. He'll cut from top to bottom. Contact again! And this time Raymond scrambles down low. Keeps it out of the wall for now, but Raymond trying to fight back to the inside to pick off the number 88. And now we'll see if Raymond's going to be so eager to take that dog leg. He sure will. Cuts right down low. Howell takes a little bit of a chunk out of it as well, but for the most part remains tucked up for this race lead. Side by side. And your pole sitter, Julian Bellew, just remained in lockstep just behind that number 3 spot. Howell clears with the top, and the 88 truck leads the way.
Yeah, it looks like your front about 10 or 15 trucks are all nose to tail, but here comes that side-by-side action, diving down into 3 and 4 right now. Still, those guys are still battling it out, but your top 10, 15 trucks are all just single file right now, kind of holding their own and just pacing themselves really good. I mean, we're only 8 laps into a 150-lap race, so there's plenty of time to make some moves later on, but you could definitely lose the race early on.
And looking for a little bit of 3-wide action as well, as believe that to be Luigi Gonzalez. No, sorry, that's the 57 truck trying to fight his way up through the order as well. And now the 57 truck of Jeff Gilmore is a lap down as a result of having to come down and into pit road. So Gilmore just trying to get himself with an established run, and he is hoping for a caution flag so he can get a chance to put that 57 machine back up onto the lead lap. Jim Duda in a similar position, although he fights his way a little bit further up the road, right behind the battle for the number 7 spot, which is side by side as well. John Held in the number 7 spot. Good outing so far for that 47 truck on his rookie debut.
Yeah, good debut for him right now, but like we said earlier, it is still an early race. There's still plenty of time to go forward or backward, but John Held definitely holding his own right now with these seasoned veterans. But these trucks are no joke to be able to run around this track fast. Like we were talking about, it is a razor's edge to be able to keep these trucks fast and rotating through these tight turns. Has got a truck in the back marker, number 54, getting a little sideways, able to collect it and not cause any wrecks, but did get a little sideways coming out of 3 and 4 and kind of back some guys up a little bit. But still, everybody holding their own really good as we're coming across for our 11th lap right now, and no caution flags yet. We're fingers crossed we're going to make it all the way into a green flag pit stop, so we'll have to see how that works out.
Paul Witt, last week's winner, cutting back to the inside of John Held. Of course, Witt had the pace to win last week, but it didn't go his way. Well, at least he didn't take the win the way he wanted to, as he took it behind the pace car, unfortunately, due to some late race carnage. Hoping that maybe he can try to go back-to-back and this time take it under green flag conditions. But as it stands, Paul Witt sitting 4.6 seconds behind. I'm not convinced that 429 truck has got the pace to be able to go for a race win here tonight. So far, the only 4 trucks that have proven they have that have been Howell through Rankin.
Yeah, they are definitely starting to pull away quite a bit. As you see, Brendan Gregg still hanging on to that 5th spot. Looks like he is about 2 seconds behind Rankin. Oh, as we got his caution coming out right now.
Oh, well, look out. A multi-truck pileup coming out of the dog leg and entering turn 1. Rick Schneider, Charlie Birch, both involved and stuck against the inside wall, and looks like Noah Swafford was collected as well. There was another truck that got collected in all of this as well, and I believe that to in fact be the 81 truck of Charlie Birch. So we'll take a look back and we'll find out what puts us on the yellow flag number 1 of the night.
Yeah, I'm not sure. When I caught it, it looked like the 26 truck was already sideways and in the wall. And oh, they're tangling. Oh, wow, the 91 and the 3 getting together, and they just went straight up into 26, who was an innocent bystander at that time, and he was just along for the ride at that point.
That's a hard licking at the inside fence as well for the driver, the number 03. And there goes Birch spinning way up to the outside in turn 1. This is the caution that Jim Duda was hoping for. He will be able to put himself back onto the lead lap as a result of all of this mess.
Yeah, we kind of knew. That's the one thing about this track is that wide, that apron there, everybody jumps down, and that's what happened is the 03 was down on that inside line and then came up and just got into the 91, I think it was. And yeah, it's just one of them racing deals right here. This weird track with that kind of weird dog leg. As you can see, the 91 gets down and the 3 thought he was just wide open there, and poor innocent bystander there of just taking that hit, and then had insult to injury as the 3 just backed straight into him.
The 12 truck did a fine job to escape through that mess. That could have been a lot worse for Jordan Vicknair, right on board with the number 12 Silverado here, coming out of turn number 4.
Oh, good driving. Oh, got a little sideways there, but able to collect it. So good running for him to be able to get that under control, because that could have been a whole lot worse.
It looked like he kind of got a bit of a help from behind, and I wonder if that was Charlie Birch that ran into the back bumper of Vicknair. That may have been what caused Birch to get sideways. There's Vicknair right in front, so maybe just found the culprit. Oh yeah, that sure was. So that was almost a whole separate incident.
Ooh, and he had a pretty good job of keeping it off the wall right there, and not collecting any more damage than just tapping the back of that bumper. So good job from him there, as we are on our first caution right now, and because of that, Christopher Howell up in front now.
No kidding. Good luck there for these drivers to kind of keep it out. That should have probably been a lot worse than it ended up being, but for now, this pack will remain as it is, and right now 36 trucks, 37 trucks now on the racetrack, only 36 of which are on the lead lap. But 2 drivers are down in the pit road. Noah Swaffer making his way out of the pits. Rick Schneider taking a little bit of extra time in his pit box to get damage repairs, and Schneider was definitely one of the trucks that you saw take the worst of that, as the 03 was kind of boxed up against the inside wall and just got pile driven right back into that inside fence. That was a hard lick to the inside in particular. And we'll go lights out and go back to green this time by.
And then another truck, the 03 just came, or not 0, the 03 came off and just backed straight into him and just really pinched him into the wall even more. So it was just an insult to injury kind of a wreck there.
Well, that's kind of how this track is, right? Especially when you get to those kinds of wrecks at the dog leg, right? You can run a lot of places, but there's not a lot of room to hide from a wreck at a track like this. And even if you're way down to the inside, you're still not guaranteed to avoid it. That backstretch, though, it's always what kind of makes me a little bit nervous, because if there's ever going to be a big one, it's going to be right down here where that track funnels in.
Yep, no, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. As the iRacing pit truck jumps into the pace truck jumps into the pits, coming around into turn 4 into that restart zone, you got the 88 truck of Christopher Howell leading the way on that inside line. Aaron Raymond on the outside, as we're just about to come into that Geico restart zone. And here we come in, and green flag to come back out to Racing Nation.
So Howell jumping clear. Bellew back to the inside of Aaron Raymond, trying to pick up the spot down to the inside line for the number 2. And he might just be able to get there as well. So Julian Bellew going to, in fact, go 2 for 2. He's going to jump to the lead, 3 wide for the lead, as Raymond takes that one up the middle. So Raymond going to try to now power around the outside. Raymond will go from 2nd to 3rd, then up to 1st in all the span of 1 lap.
Aaron Raymond showing him what we were talking about earlier. He is always right there, just lurking around. And when he finds, it's like one of the sniffs some blood, and he just takes off and goes running. So he is now taking over the lead. Julian Bellew in 2nd. Scott Rankin in 3rd. Christopher Howell dropping back to 4th. Brendan Gregg in 5th. And in the 6th spot, Zane Bailey, the 20 truck, all the way up into the 6th spot right now, up 5 starting position. So good mover so far. Thomas Lane, another one that's jumped up quite a ways. He's come up 9 spots. And Jamie Dunning up 10 spots. Brad Slagle up 15. He's up into the 10th spot right now. So some early movers on, and we're barely 20 laps into the race.
Paul Wick getting to the side of Zachary Gruber coming out of getting to the side of Greg Pyler coming out of turn number 4 that last time by. Had a bit of a moment, and results of the battle between Lane and Jamie Lee Dunning that's right now on for 8th, as Dunning will take to the inside, and Lane at risk of losing the top 10 here as well. Meanwhile, Christopher Howell back to the inside of Julian Bellew to pick up 2nd. This time, he's taking Scott Rankin with him. I think Scott wants to get a move on here. Wants to put that Watt Lagoons Ford F-150 back up into the top spot. Almost into the outside wall there went Bellew. And Howell right back to the back bumper of Aaron Raymond. A lot of animosity has been taking place between these two drivers over the course of last season. And there's still no love lost between the 88 and the 6.
Yeah, that's definitely going to make it interesting here coming in as they come through side by side around what is 1 and 2 right now. Good side-by-side action as they hit that back straight like we were talking earlier. That is anywhere that could happen. That's you come diving out of turn 2 there, and that wall does creep up on you really fast. So that is a spot that could end up somebody getting pushed up. But then this is always the tough spot for me, is where everybody's jumping down to that apron and then they're funneling back down. Oh, and we're wrecking right now. Second caution coming out.
John Holiday goes into the outside wall, and he's going to take a couple drivers with him. So, again, we'll jump back and show you what happened this time to the number 9. Gets into the back of Charlie Birch, as Birch been involved in our second crash of the night here. Dives it in deep, and sure did. Got into the 81. That's going to loop the 9 right around. And he collected a few trucks as well, as it's going to overcorrect, back up. Whoa, the 2 just avoided that. And he's going to take a pretty hefty whack there from the 77 of Amaro.
And there was another truck that was just running right with him. That was a black truck that was running right with him.
They've been below
that also spun around. Yep, another truck spun around, running right with him here. Lead, follow the 5. This is where it's at. And gets clipped. Yep.
Good save.
I think there's something right after this. Keep following him. If I remember correctly, this is the truck that
well.
There it is.
So a secondary incident, Jeff Gilmore got involved with the 69 truck as well. Talk about a miscommunication. And it's worth noting that a lot of the spotter calls, like, outside, inside, those stopped once the yellow flag came out. I'm willing to bet he had no idea he was practically 3 wide.
Yeah, and I mean, we literally were just talking about that apron of just jumping down and then it just funneling back in so tight, and you never know what's there. So it looks like Raymond in for a pit stop now with 25 laps down. So we're, an eighth of a way in, and the leader's already starting to come in. But those top 8 trucks are still without a pit stop. So they're counting on some more caution flags, I bet.
It's a very, very split call coming down to pit road, and right now you've got about half the field that has come down at least once. The other half so far has elected to stay out. Charlie Birch gets the Lucky Dog free pass. He was determined not to be involved in the incident, at least not enough to take his Lucky Dog away. So with that, let's see if we can't get a touch. You know what? We'll give a bit of a special shout out here. We talked earlier about how the Network Alliance for Veterans was, of course, one of the big names that was coming in to help to give the lights on here for the TNGG IEL Truck Series. Well, we'll get to to talk to one of those folks that is associated with NAV, and we'll bring Cecil Ross up here into the broadcast booth. And, well, Cecil, I mean, you guys are the ones that help to get the lights on. It feels only right that you should get a chance to say what you guys are all about.
Yay, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Just fine. We can hear you just fine as well.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, and I appreciate it. So it's basically something that I started when I retired. So I'm only 2 years old, really, into this business, but mainly is just to inform veterans and their families of the extra benefits, because I saw a few gaps when I came out of the military, and people not, especially our veterans, not knowing what they were entitled to, especially those freebies that are lingering out there. So anyway, long story short, I'm based out of the Northwest Indiana area, and have several affiliations with different groups, as you mentioned earlier in the show. And now I'm also participating with the Red Cross, and then picked up you guys as a sponsor for this year, and a group called Bikes for the Likes of Us out of Olaf, Kansas, and that's a BMX bike organization for kids. And then besides that, we have a couple committees going on with the for the veterans out here, Veterans Roundtable, and so my other sponsorship is with the actual Veterans Roundtable golf outing that's going to be held in the next, I believe, in June. And then last but not least, we got a sponsorship going out to Leon's Heroes, and that's about disabled vets, and it's the actual Olympic committee that puts on the Olympic type events for disabled veterans. That's what I have for you guys.
Well, thank you to Cecil Ross being able to come on up here and give us a bit of a chat about what NAV is all about. We have gone back to Green Flag Racing, of course, the Network Alliance of Veterans, a good organization that is coming on in to be able to sponsor the TNGG IEL Truck Series, among others, and make sure that all the veterans get kind of the rights that they deserve. Battle for the lead. Scott Rankin going for it down the inside of Howell on the restart lap, but Howell hangs on for lap 28.
Yeah, these guys are going to go at it for a while. You can see Rankin is just sitting on that back bumper right now as they get back under restart. But Rankin's really liking that high line coming out of turns, what is that, 1 and 2, coming down to the back straightaway. Gets a good run as that diving down the back straightaway into 3 and 4, and Rankin takes over the lead on that inside line. So that could play definitely into his hands later on into that race. He could see, we could see somebody really riding that turns 1 and 2, that high line around there, and get a good run on somebody down that back straightaway, and maybe make a white flag pass, on that last lap right there.
Well, Rankin tried for it, couldn't get there. Howell pinched him off, so Scott Rankin will remain in the number 2 spot for now. Mike Bagwell trying to... Big crash on the back stretch, in fact. Robert Amaro, one of the main runners that gets collected to this with huge damage.
Yeah, I just caught that one on another screen where he was just coming down the back straightaway and got tangled with somebody and got heavy damage in that front of that truck. Went straight into that inside wall on the back straight. And we were talking about that earlier. That back straight, that is a spot where big things can happen. And we'll have to see where he came out of here. Coming out of 2 and just pushing up a little bit. Oh, a little bit of net code there. Tough hit, hard hit for him. Luckily, everybody was able to avoid him, or it could have been a little help from the 5 to get spun around, but that could have been a lot worse if it was further up the field.
The 26 truck just barely managing to duck around that mess as well. That was Noah Swafford, involved in yellow flag number 1, that had his hands full trying to avoid that spinning 77 truck. It's a very unpredictable situation, right? You don't know where to go, and makes that last second decision to cut high, and that ended up being the right decision.
No, absolutely. You always want to try to aim for a spinning truck, and knowing that he's not going to be there when you get there, and that's what he was doing, was aiming right for him, and then all of a sudden the truck stopped, so he was able to make that last second move to get out of the way.
It's a very hard lick there that he took as well from the 5 of John Powalda Jr. And, well, the yellow flags starting to stack up relatively quickly. We went through the 16 laps without one, and then we've gotten 3 in the 16 that follow it. We're going to take a step back. You're watching the TNGG IEL Truck Series and the Tire Melting 150 on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We're getting set to go back to racing on Green Flag TV as Christopher Howell looks to take us back around to the restart zone. Scott Rankin, though, is really piling on the pressure, though, on the last restart, so we could be seeing this 88 Tech for Troops Tundra have some real fire underneath those, underneath that back bumper here on the restart.
Yeah, well, these two trucks are definitely the class of the field right now, is leading the way coming on the restart. Doing our third restart, fourth green flag start for these guys side by side coming around turns 3 and 4. But you never want to count out some of these guys back there behind them. Aaron Raymond sitting back there in that 7th spot right now as we go back to green flag, coming down that short dog leg, and we're gonna dive down into that apron right now. The 88 truck getting a good clean start. Christopher Howell leading them away, but Scott Rankin gonna try that high line coming up here, guide up against the wall. Keep those RPMs up, drops back a little bit, but down that back straightaway, he is going to get a motor run. Has to cut down and maybe dive in. He lifts up just a little bit to try to keep from plowing into the back of him, but your top two going nose to tail right now. Side-by-side action in that third and fourth spot. Brendan Gregg and Selena Thompson all the way up into the 4th spot. Selena up 35 spots from the starting position, but your top 4 all have not pit yet, so that is why these 4 are up here. And the first truck that has pit is Aaron Raymond in the 5th spot. We got a truck sideways coming off of one of the turns. Truck 71 getting spun around, but looks like we are staying green. That is correct. We are staying green right now, Nolan.
And green flag conditions still, because Mike Campbell has not stopped down low enough on the racetrack to force the yellow flag. This is what happened, though. 3 wide entering turn number 1. And he's just going to come together with the 40 truck and loop that Mountain Dew machine right around, and just barely nicked the inside wall, but not enough to do any sort of lasting damage. Thompson, you mentioned plus 35 on the day, trying to make that plus 36 as she's hunting down the inside of Brendan Gregg's number 27 machine as well. But we're trying to fight around the outside. Oh, Scott Rankin into the wall in the number 2 spot way up the road. So Rankin now scraping up to the right side of the Wanted Goods machine, and that gives Howell a huge bunch of breathing room to work with.
Getting that good old Darlington stripe on that outside of the truck. Scott Rankin that is the fast line for him right now, is riding that line, but there is, like we talked earlier, there's a fine line on that edge, and he caught that edge just a little too far. But that gives Brendan Gregg up into the 2nd spot now. Rankin dropping back to 3rd, but you see some 3x3 action right there with Raymond on the inside. Wow, that was close. Raymond was on that back fender of the 91 truck of Selena Thompson, and man, that was close to getting somebody spun out there, and that could have been just massive with everybody being backed up still from this restart.
Yeah, nearly hooked Thompson into the inside wall off of turn 2 there. Raymond getting the elbows out as he tries to make a lunge here on that number 91 truck. But for now, Thompson showing that she does not want to go anywhere. Rankin again side slaps the outside wall out of turn 2 down the backstretch. And Raymond really stuffing it in there. I thought for a moment we were about to see the chrome horn being used for the first time tonight. It is going to scare Thompson off the track, though, and puts her to the outside wall. But look at the pinch to try to keep Raymond down on the bottom.
Great battle for your second, third, and fourth spots right now. You had Rankin go into the turns, what was that, 1 and 2, and got on the brakes a little harder, and Thompson had to back off a little bit, and that let Rankin and Raymond back up a little bit too. So it could have been really ugly for those three, but great battle for those three right now as Christopher Howell just leading the way and pulling away while these guys are battling it out. Still anybody's fight right there for what's right now third, fourth, and fifth.
You really get an idea of just how aggressive these drivers are taking away that dog leg there, based on how much these splitters bounce off of the ground once they actually turn down for that dog leg. Watch right here. Watch when they go down and hit it. And see how the front of those trucks jump up. These guys are being really aggressive in hitting that transition, really trying to get as much speed and make sure that when they cross over that transition, they're losing as little time as possible.
It is a little bit shorter on the time-wise, but you really keep your RPMs up high on that outside line, and I don't know. It's a catch-22. You want to get a good run on the straightaway because you've got all those RPMs from running that higher line, or do you want to get a shorter line around the track? It's just tough. It's a really tough line right now, but good side-by-side battle right now. As you see, John Held still really holding his own, but he's down to the 13th spot, and right behind him is the 13th. Oh, another wreck down the back straightaway.
Hard crash for Ryan McRoberts. Slammed first the outside wall, then the inside. He's almost going to be struck there as well. But I think that may have been the 90 truck of Greg Pyler, and McRoberts is going to be forced to the pit row, no doubt. That was a heavy lick that he took at the outside wall, and that was all from his own doing as well. Scott Rankin into pit road for the first time, and in hot behind as well, the 72 of Cody Ricketts.
Tough break for those guys having to do a green flag stop while these other guys were able to get that free stop under caution. They were kind of banking on getting another caution, and it just didn't quite happen for them as they're going to drop down the field and possibly lose a lap depending on how quick they can get in and out of these pits. As these pit lanes are a little awkward as you got a couple trucks playing a little bumper tag on the back straight. It was the 60 and the 14 playing a little chrome horn action going on, but as you see the rest of the leaders jumping into pit lane right now.
And Christopher Howell will pit from the race lead. So that battle for a second has just become the battle for the top spot. Luigi Gonzalez and John Held side by side, and more door bang just behind. The 13 of Mike Bagwell way to the inside after hard contact with the 38 of Thomas Lane Jr. Slagle and Thompson also coming down to the pit road. So this is everybody that we have not yet seen come down into pit road, now making their first stops of the afternoon right at lap 49. You wonder if maybe they were trying to make it to lap 50 to try to stretch it a bit longer, but clearly they weren't able to make it work.
Yeah, and I think they were, as much as the cautions were coming out in the early on, they were probably counting for one who just got another caution. 72 truck getting spun out right there in that short little front straightaway area. We had a couple other trucks spin out and no cautions with that, so I was kind of curious on what determined this caution to come out where those other ones didn't.
Well, the fact that he was stopped on the actual racing surface, I think, would do it. For the other ones, they were stopped underneath the racing surface, so it didn't matter so much. And this is just a single truck incident on cold tires, just loops the back end, tags the back bumper, and the Carvana machine strikes it again with the front. And that's going to take the rest of the field now into pit road.
Yep, now here comes everybody else jumping in and taking advantage of that free pit stop. As you see, looks like Raymond leading the way of that whole pack of trucks coming in. Raymond with a little bit of a Darlington stripe on that outside door. So running that high line is seems to be what a lot of guys are doing, getting a little paint and rubber rubbed off of the side of the trucks, but jumps into his pit lane, his pit box really quick. Looks like he's getting some outside tires as well. So just the outside tires. Oh, nope, jumping on that inside ones as well. So is the 51 and the 59.
I mean, I think at this point you may as well, right? I mean, you got a free caution. You don't know when the next one is going to come out, so make the most out of it and get whatever tires you can get. So that's going to cycle now Waylon McConnell through to the race lead. Now, McConnell has not pitted since lap 24. If you kind of take a look at the pit strategy here throughout the top 20, you can see just how much of a split call it really is. Now, this is before this graphic has been updated with all of the recent pit stops, which will take place once we cross the line this time through. But already you can really, I think, get a good picture as to how differing the strategy is. Everybody from 9th on down came in under this yellow flag.
Yeah, and that's one thing with the tracks with the high caution flag counts that, guys are taking gamble on when it's going to happen and when they can get in. And a couple guys get caught out on that green flag stop, and it really hurt them. So we'll have to see if they can work their way back up through the field with some of these other cautions and get back up front.
Scott Rankin looking like he's having to go to the rear of the field, potentially. So bad news potentially for the driver of the Wanted Goons crew. As for Rankin, it's a bit unusual, right? I mean, he's been having a lot of bad luck, but it's been that luck being turned on its head late in the race that has put him right back through to the point. And Rankin started this race up in the top groupings, but because he had to come down into pit road, he's now stuck 2 laps down.
Yeah, it's tough to come back from that. We're a quarter of the way into the race. Or a third of the way through the race, even farther. So, it's gonna be tough to come back from that.
He's going to come back down to the pit road. I think maybe just for a fuel top off. That'd be my assumption. Now, the reason why he is so many laps down is because he was caught speeding when he was last into pit road, so he had to stay for about a lap in order to serve that black flag. Otherwise, he would have only been 1 down. But that penalty has really put this 49 car in a bad way, because now he's all the way down to the 35th, 2 laps down. It's going to be tough for him to get back onto the lead lap without some more lucky cautions going his way.
Yeah, so like we said, though, it's still 100 laps, just under 100 laps to go. So anybody's race still. He's still got plenty of time to get those lucky dogs and get back on that lead lap. As much as these cautions have been flying, he's just got to put his head down and really dig on, and he could definitely get back up front.
Well, the Iverson pace truck pulls back down and into pit road. Waylon McConnell, for the first time all race long, will take the overkill Silverado into the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air, and look at the jump from the 75.
Yeah, it looks like Thomas Lane Jr. was sleeping on that outside lane and dropped back just quite a bit. So Waylon getting a heck of a restart and getting pulled out. But man, look at that side-by-side action of these trucks.
3 by 3 by 3 as they thunder down the back straightaway. McConnell out by a country mile, and they're still going to be 3 wide down to the turn number 3. Raymond way to the inside. The 60 of LeBon Van Leer trying to get in as well. Contact, and around goes Van Leer to the outside. Can he save it? He just manages to hang on to the number 60 machine.
Yeah, if that happened off of turn 2, that would have been a massive wreck. But because those guys can jump down into that apron, he was able to collect it and be able to save it. But if that would have happened over here, it would have been a huge mess. But that early overhead shot that we saw coming onto the back straightaway, he's got truck slamming that inside wall. Oh, able to hang on to it. Good save from him right there. That could have been another wreck one.
That was Mike Bagwell going into the inside wall. So, again, that aggression picking up in a hurry as we now dive into turns 1 and 2. Oh, and around goes the 03 in the back. Big crash, 4, 5 involved. Hefty whack. Noah Swafford gets into it again. Rick Kahn is there. Howell, the points runner-up from last season, is in it. Rick Schneider gets into another one.
Yeah, that was a couple hard hits as he was spinning around, and trucks just had no place to go as they just went. Literally, one truck got shown going straight through him. So as he's coming out in that apron area, gets back up on the apex here. And this is where the track tightens down. We've been talking about this the entire time. That track really tightens up, and didn't realize that the 71 truck was in there and just got on it inside. And here they come straight through him.
Oh,
The 88
man.
literally going right through him. So hard hit from him. And in the 88 truck, one of your early leaders out there getting tied up in the back and getting tangled into that.
And that was Rincon that piled through the wreck to slam into the back bumper of Christopher Howell to kick that truck up into the air. Take another look. And then the 42, I think, caught a piece of that outside wall as well.
And Christopher Howell has manually disconnected as well. So his day is done and dusted. And was definitely a little frustrated being back there and then getting tangled up with that after leading early on. So tough break for Howell, your early late race leader.
Waylon McConnell still leads. 5 cautions within the first 60 laps. We are still about 15, 17 laps away from halfway. We're going to take a step back. You're watching the TNGG IEL Truck Series on Green Flag TV. Lights are out aboard the iRacing Pace Truck, coming to the close of our 5th yellow flag of the night, as we'll restart this race with 90 laps to go. Waylon McConnell still leads with Paul Witt to his outside as we get set to do it all over again. Into turn numbers 3 and 4. Let's put that green flag back into the air.
Green flag, and the 75 truck of Waylon McConnell definitely getting a good start. We talked about that earlier. That inside line is definitely the restart spot. You get good jumps and a good jump down into that turn 1 as side by side. 3 wide action coming out of there and coming onto that back straightaway where things really funnel down. We've seen a couple wrecks, some guys coming whipping down on that inside lane and getting that rear bumper taken out. So it is definitely a high velocity area. You got a couple trucks side by side in the back, able to collect it and keep going. But you're out in front. Paul Witt and now assuming the lead in the 420. Oh, big wreck. One truck flying in the air.
Slagle, I think, was the truck that got kicked up and into the air. That was, I think, one of the worst crashes we've had, quite possibly all season. I saw that tank into the outside wall. Oh, that looked nasty. what is that, 5 wide almost in the background, and they were 4 wide up here. Contact between the 14 to the 40, collects Brett and Greg, and Slade gets turned head on. Well, back end first to the outside wall, and then right here, just the perfect set of circumstances to kick that truck skyward.
Yeah, that was a couple hard hits, and that's definitely, like we were talking about it. That's one you would definitely feel in the morning if you were real racing. But man, look at that 5 wide as they come through, and that apron section. That's what leads to a lot of these wrecks. Is the guys are able to spread way out, but they come flying back up there because they're going so fast around this track.
They were wrecking well up the road as well. There were quite a few trucks that continued to get into this well after the fact. This is just a product of putting, so many trucks onto such a small racetrack. I don't think Bristol's going to be any better coming up next week.
Yeah, that Bristol's definitely going to be some interesting action with 30 to 40 trucks on there, and that high bank track is just going to lead to some very interesting racing, I'm sure.
And Martinsville, don't forget, coming on up later in the season as well. Going to, if we still have the same truck fields there, we'll be here for a while. Let's put it that way. The last Martinsville race we had was already pretty stop and start with only about a 20 truck field. But again, that's how these tracks are, right? I mean, these tracks are difficult. They don't like it when you try to abuse all the limits they give you. That's why it's commonly said that yellow line down to the inside is more of a suggestion line than it is an actual hard rule line. And it has come up in some debate as to whether or not that should become a rule line. That's what the IndyCar did when the IndyCar series did when they used to run here all the time.
Yeah, it's I don't know. You and I were talking about this in the pre-production about that apron of being that raceable area, and I'm not a fan of it. It's just me being, a purist, and it's a racing line. You're supposed to race on the racetrack, but but it does add for a lot of action. Talking about going 5 wide through there, but as we've talked, coming out of turns, 2, going onto the back straightaway, you have to funnel down to at least 2 wide, and it's hard to get that action, when you're 5 wide down to 2 so fast, because these trucks are just flying through that area there.
Well, I think that's the important thing to know, because turns 1 and 2, they're not banked a lot, right? If you only have like a few degrees of banking on them, but that's still enough that it really makes a huge difference. I mean, you can see these trucks that try to go at the same speed as these guys on the banking, and even them with only that 4 to 5 degrees of difference, they're still sliding up into them when they're on the flat because of just how huge that little bit of banking has every single impact on how you race this track.
Yeah, absolutely. And these trucks are razor's edge when you're riding them, when you're racing them. To be fast with these trucks, you really have to have that back end so free in them. And these trucks are not easy to drive. And it's, you've got them bouncing up and down off of that apron and back up into the racing line. And, it really upsets the handling and just the general balance of the truck. But these guys are doing a pretty good job. It just, a few guys are having some issues with it, but these trucks are definitely not the easiest things to drive. As you see the iRacing truck dive down into the pit lane as we're just wrapping up our 6th caution flag, about to go green again. So we're averaging just over a caution flag every 10 laps. So we got about, another 8 or 9 caution flags still to go yet, Nolan?
Yeah, probably, based on how the trends are looking, but we'll see how this race pans out. Green flag back in the air this time. Paul Witt takes us back to the green flag. Carson Baytall way up on the outside and trying to make good use of the banking there to try to keep the momentum working forward. Aaron Raymond really onto the back bumper there of Paul Witt. Down in the turn 1, backs off just in time for the corner. But Carson Baytall pulling alongside with Paul Witt. 3 wide for the lead. Raymond down to the bottom, trying to go 2 for 2.
Good run from Raymond down that back straightaway, into that inside line. Paul Witt closes in on that back bumper, had to lift just a little bit as you see these guys just diving down to that apron area, trying to keep that speed up, and coming into turn 2 right now. And the top truck, Carson Baytall, out in front in that 59 truck. Carson had that early end of line, and he is all the way back up into the lead after 68 laps. So impressive run from Carson to be able to work his way up here. And he's already 3 pit, where some of these guys have only 2 pit. So good run from Carson right now.
Huge issues for Julian Bellew as he crossed out of turn numbers 3 and 4, got way sideways in the run through the dog leg. Was able to get that truck gathered up underneath, and we will not get the chance to look back at that one for now at least, because goodness gracious, it was a close call, but too much going on to look back as Brandon Greg Thompson Jr. now side by side. John Holliday about to get in there as well as Greg will clear up for P number 7.
Yeah, these guys diving into that apron, and some guys staying up on that high line, keeping those RPMs up, keeping that momentum rolling. And definitely gets really hairy as they come out of there and head down the back straight one more time, 2 by 2, and even close to 3 wide coming into 3. There they are, really close to 3 wide right now, with that 81 truck just kind of sticking his nose in there just a tiny bit. Oh, that was big wreck coming into that.
Yeah, big crash as we got one truck going around, and that is right at the tail of the field. Greg Pyler into the outside wall and taking Selena Thompson with him as we got to that, my mouse clattered to the floor, but Carson Batol still hangs on to the race lead, and caution flag number 7. This will take us over halfway.
Yeah, that was another hard hit coming out of what was off the apron here.
Oh, looks...
So
Thompson...
One truck looked, the 90 looked like he was trying to stay up high, and the 91 was looking like he was wanting to go down, and thought he was going to go down with him, and just couldn't quite work it out.
Well, Selena Thompson, I think you're right? I mean, she thought that Greg Pyler was going to go down to cut the dog leg. Greg didn't end up doing that. Now, here's the big controversial thing about an incident like this, right? Greg doesn't have to take that dog leg. I know it's, quote-unquote tradition now for the inside line to take that dog leg, but he doesn't have to. And the truck that's on the outside, typically, if they cause a wreck by turning down you like that, they're still going to be at fault, even if you don't take the dog leg, because it's not technically the racing surface by definition.
Yeah, that was just, like you said, Selena was basically planning on him to cut down into that apron area, and she just turned down into him, and it was just, they were just riding along into the wall from there.
Yikes. That was one of the harder licks we've seen as well, as that was a nasty hit into the outside wall. Again, another good chunk of the field coming down into pit road. Everybody from 10th on up staying out again. So Carson Batol, the initial and official pole sitter, back to the point. And all of this it might be just halfway exactly when we take that green flag again.
And you still got Brendan Gregg in the 27. He's only pit once so far, running in that 6th spot. But your big jumpers right now, Luigi Diaz-Gonzalez up into the 5th spot. He's up 15 spots now in that 54 truck. So definitely making some moves right now and taking advantage of these caution flags to get moved up the line quite a bit. So good running from Luigi. And then also Paul Witt in the 3rd spot. Paul is up 12 spots from his starting grid. So some big movers up in the top 5. And like I said, just definitely taking advantage of these caution flags. I mean, we've had 7 of them in 75 laps now. So like we said, about averaging just about 1 every 10 laps. So we'll have to see how we make our way around towards the end of this race here.
Coming on up on Green Flag TV tomorrow night, the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series will keep the Western theme going this week by running out to Las Vegas, Nevada, and go racing in Sin City at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. The High Tide Racing League Amateur Racing Designs Cup Series will finally have their long-awaited season opener in the Gen 4 cars. Josh Baird will be with me in the broadcast booth for that one. That will be down at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time as well. And the OMSRL Truck Series will once again return to Green Flag TV, this time to the world's fastest paperclip for their race down at the Martinsville Speedway. on Tuesday night. That and a lot more still yet to come on Green Flag TV. Beer League is off this week, and then Speed will be back at their usual time on Thursday nights. Lights are out. We go green this time.
Lots of action coming up here at Green Flag TV, but a whole lot of action going on here at the Phoenix Speedway. Lots of cautions have been coming up to us. Just wrapping up our 7th caution right now, as you've got the 59 truck of Carson Baytall leading the pack on that inside lane. Aaron Raymond sneaking his way back up into that outside row, up into that 2nd spot. Zane Bailey, we haven't really talked a whole lot about him, but he has been able to hang on, and he is up in that 2nd row on that outside line as we come back. Green flag crossing the line, and down the apron they come for one more time.
Field jumps back to it. Carson Baytall trying to keep Aaron Raymond behind, and this time Raymond going to try to open up the top shelf as they work through turn numbers 1 and 2 to the back straightaway. The 6 still holding firm, but so is Carson Baytall. Bailey goes into the outside wall, and Raymond to the inside. Can't make the lunge as Baytall cuts him off.
Good racing up front right now as we're just getting those tires warmed back up. You see that 59 truck just slam. Oh, as we're wrecking right across the start-finish line. 052 is just spinning around. Didn't look like a whole lot of damage, but he was spinning coming across the start-finish line, and that's why we threw our 8th caution.
And we keep racking them up, don't we? I mean, this is, cautions breed cautions. It started off so promising, didn't it? I mean, we had, 16 laps green right out of the gate. Since then, I don't even think we've made it 5 ever since.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. It hasn't been very many, but we keep stacking them up. It'll be interesting to see how many trucks are still running at the end here.
Taking a look back at what happened to Brad Slagle. A 75 truck already alone the inside of Waylon McConnell. And that's going to be a self-inflicted error. Just loops the back end coming out of turn number 4. Does he find the inside wall?
Nope.
Just barely keeps it out. I'll call that a fine save.
Yeah, he was able to keep it off the wall. Harm, no damage. No other cars wrecked as well. Looks like he just got in a little too hot, especially with that truck on that inside lane. Kind of made him jerk the wheel up just a little bit. And just misses that O'Reilly wall on that inside lane. So good save from him as we're closing in our 80th lap. Still got a couple trucks jumping into that pit lane, taking advantage of these cautions. They've been plentiful. So we'll have to see how we can hopefully make it the rest of the way. Get some good green flag racing going on here and see some guys make some runs to the top. But Carson Baytall still leading the way. Luigi Gonzalez up into the 2nd spot now with Aaron Raymond coming in for a pit stop, dropping him down to about 15th or so. So Gonzalez now up into that outside row in the front. Brennan Gregg sitting 3rd. John Holiday, we haven't really mentioned John at all today, up into that 4th spot. So everybody kind of getting shuffled around quite a bit. Charlie Birchstead up into 5th now, plus 21 spots. So good run so far for Charlie. And you got definitely guys down at the bottom that have lost a lot of positions, and Charlie's taking advantage of that, running up in the 5th spot.
I think we'd be remiss as well if we didn't mention Laban Van Leer as well. He's only running in the top 10, but he is plus 28 on the afternoon. Started this race down in, 39th. Stone dead last. Was one of many drivers that did not come down and make a qualifying effort. Well, he tried to make a qualifying effort, could not put the actual lap time in, though, because they were only given 1 time lap this evening instead of 2. And that first lap wasn't validated when he struck the outside wall. So the Castrol Edge number 60 truck making the best out of a bad situation. He's been involved in a couple of wrecks so far. You can see that left rear quarter panel and the left front quarter panel as well. Both kind of dented in a little bit, but critically, that truck, not with a lot of damage. It's manageable at a track like this.
Yeah, the aero's not a huge thing here, not as much as it would be at like Atlanta or Daytona, the last 2 races we've done. But he is definitely doing the best of all these cautions, and all these other trucks getting spun around quite a bit. So definitely a great showing from Van Leer, up 28 spots. So that's a great run so far. as we're just crossing over for our starting our 81st lap right now. So still got 70 laps still left to go. Like I said, we're averaging right at a caution every 10 laps. So let's see what these guys can do. Maybe once these guys get all settled in, we'll be able to get some good laps going on.
Well, the lights will go out aboard the iRacing pace truck. We have been able to get quite a few trucks kind of whittled down. I think currently you're looking like there's going to be about 30-ish still out on the racetrack. Quite a few have already taken themselves down and out of the race. We still have 26 that remain on the lead lap. Carson Batal will work his way around to the Geico restart zone and we will once again look to get racing action underway. Green flags up in the air.
Good start again from Carson in that 59 truck. The 54 truck of Luigi taking that high line, still jumping down into that apron, but the 27 truck of Brendan Gregg getting the good dive down on that inside, trying to get up into that second spot. And he is bringing along Charlie in that 81 truck. So good battle for these guys up front. 3 wide coming down the back straightaway into turn 3. And we are wrecking again.
Oh, that's going to be the big one as well. Multiple trucks getting involved. We're still wrecking up the road as Charlie Burgess spun around again for about the 4th time for the 81. And Raymond is smoking, put the defending champion out of the race for the 2nd week in a row.
Tough break from Aaron. I'm not sure what happened, but he must have taken a huge hit in that front end to have some engine problems like that. We'll have to go back and see what it looked like but there was trucks everywhere kind of spinning around because everybody was still so grouped together from that last caution.
That was, again, another absolutely tremendous impact. And this time it took out more than just a couple. Brandon Groover was one of the trucks that got sideways to kick this off. Got in there sideways with Paul Witt. Jim Duda ran over to the 429, and there Raymond got hooked hard into the outside wall. That's what did all the motor damage. And then up the road, you're going to see Charlie Birch already spinning around up the road. Man, that's just a tough break. And for Aaron Raymond, this is detrimental to his points run. He's going to be dropped well outside of the top 5 now after this.
Yeah, that great hard nose into the wall and just taking that motor damage. And without a fast repair here, he is definitely, his day is probably done now. Man, that was a big wreck. I mean, because it wasn't like just all compacted. It was all over the track as we watch. And you see the 81 just get a little left fender tap right there. And like we talked, these trucks are razor's edge, so one little tiny little movement definitely can upset these trucks and get them spinning around.
A hard wreck for multiple trucks involved, and overall, not as big as I thought it was. Only about 5 or 6 actually getting collected, but again, it could have been worse. And again, we'll whittle a few more out of the race from that.
Yeah, the trucks that are disconnecting now, we've got 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9 trucks disconnected right now. So it is down to about 30 running trucks on the track. And we're just over halfway into this race on our 9th caution right now. Definitely been action-packed. And definitely leaves nothing on the track right now is these trucks are definitely shearing sheet metal off of them as much as possible.
I think it's worth pointing out, right, that a lot of these incidents have been happening towards the mid-pack and towards the rear where everything gets all stacked up. Everyone that's been from about the top 15 up has been relatively okay all race long. It's everyone behind them that's been having problems. And you wonder if maybe the fact that this field has been so massive that a lot of these checkups that you've been seeing on the restarts is having a hand to play in this.
Well, also on these caution flags and guys coming in for pits, and it's that shuffling of the field. So you've got the fast guys that are in the back, and you got guys that may not necessarily be running, 5th, 6th, or 7th, up towards the top of the field that not always have that same pace, and you got guys behind them that definitely have more pace than them, and that's the nature of racing with cautions is it stacks that field back up, mixes things up, and definitely adds more action. As you see the iRacing truck jump down into pit lane, we are just coming around to complete our 9th lap. The 59 truck of Carson Baytall leading the pack down into turn 4. If you want to call it turn 4, turn 5 with the dog leg, whatever you want to call it. Coming into that Geico restart zone and coming up to the green flag. Carson Baytall leading them down into that front short straightaway. Dives down into that apron right now. Brennan Gregg on that outside line, but look out, here comes, which truck was that on that outside line as well? Oh, the 47, John Held, working his way up. Held in his rookie race right now, running in the 4th spot. Definitely doing a good showing right now, working his way up into the field.
Trying to punch his ticket up to the podium. He'll clear for 4th, and now he's trying to catch up to Lane and Gregg, who are battling side by side for 2nd and 3rd. And wow, Gregg nearly dooring Lane as they came off of 4 into the dog lane, nearly replicated the mistake that put Slagle into the outside wall earlier with Selena Thompson. So that could have been a close call, but luckily enough, Brandon Gregg realized that error and made a quick correction to keep both trucks on course.
Yeah, great job from these guys running up front. That could have been just massive with everybody so close right now. As we're coming around on our 89th lap, guys diving down to that apron, jumping back up into the track racing surface. Carson Baytall out in front in that 59 truck leading the way. Brennan Gregg in 2nd. Thomas Lane Jr. up into 3rd right now. Good showing from Thomas, up 14 spots from his starting position, leading up into that 3rd spot. 4th spot, you got that John Held in 47. Jeff Gilmore rounding out your top 5 right now in that 57 truck. So we've had about 4 green flag laps here. So hopefully we can keep this momentum going, as we've been averaging a caution every 10 laps. So keep this momentum going, keep them on green flag as well. Oh man, just changing lanes right in front of each other is just so hairy on this track.
Oh, you and I both. I thought Tom Golker was about to go around and find the inside wall of the number 2. He's working to the inside of Van Leer. Oh, there we go. Van Leer spun around, middle of the pack. Look out! And I think everyone will manage to get around the Castrol Edge Ford. Good job on the field. That ends up being a 1-car spin.
It's just, I don't know. That's the one thing that I don't like about this apron racing is it opens the field up so wide, and then they have to condense down so tight. It's just one of those things. I don't know. But the 60 trying to jump down into that apron lane, and the 2 looked like he did not want to do it, and getting spun out right there coming into that apron.
Pretty hefty shot there that the 41 took to the door as well, and that probably saved the 2 from going fully around. Carson Baytall into pit road, Brandon Gregg in with him, and looking like it's again another split call. Tom Golker, understandably, is into pit road, so is Brandon Groover, Birch, and Holiday in as well.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's starting to come in. Thomas Lane Jr. now assuming the lead in the 38 truck. So Thomas only on 2 stops so far, so he's stretching his run just a little bit. Looks like he's trying to draft with the pace truck if you're watching him on the track right now, just tucked up underneath that bumper, saving all the fuel he can on there. But jumping in trucks, just watching him drive around in that. But Thomas out leading the way. John Held now up into that 2nd spot. So been pretty cheeky with him. Just try to real quiet trail, hanging on, being around on there in that 47 truck, and up into that 2nd place right now. Jeff Gilmore in 3rd now in the 57. So making some good runs out front. So it's been a very interesting race, Nolan. It's these cautions definitely keep the field mixed, keep the action tight, and they definitely don't let the trucks spread out and get their legs running.
Scott Rankin, after all that way to the round, since he got that penalty early in the race that put him 2 laps down, He has now found himself in the lucky dog position. He is now only one end of the catbird seat to fight his way back to the lead lap, just like he had to do at Atlanta. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment once again with just over 50 laps to go on caution number 10. Well, once again, we get set to go back to green flag racing, working yellow flag number 10 on the afternoon. We will restart this race with 55 laps on the docket. Thomas Lane Jr., John Held, Jeff Gilmore, Julian Bellew in the top 2 rows, with Mike Bagwell rounding out the top 5. To the restart zone once again and put the 38 truck to the points as we go back to green.
Thomas Lane pushing that outside lane up really high coming out of turn 4, trying to get that extra little run on John Held as John dives down on the inside as they come into turn 2. Oh, got sideways. Oh, he held onto it. Wow, that was a good save there. Man, because that would have been massive with all that pack of trucks right there.
Oh, this isn't going to work. We're going 4 wide into turn number 3. They'll triple it out, which is not a statement I say all that often, but my goodness, the aggression has kicked off in earnest. And every yellow flag that we get closer to the end of this race, that aggression is only going to ramp up more and more because there's less and less time to make these moves work. So right now, it's a self-feeding cycle. Oh my gosh. Talk about a bit of a chop there from the 75 across the nose of a couple down the back straightaway. The top 5 or so really breaking away clean. Oh, but the 12 of Jordan McNair getting beaten around the bush here as these guys cannot keep it out of each other for the life of them.
This is definitely some high entertainment going on, and there's there's plenty of action going on the track right now. It's just hard to keep up with these guys going at it. But Thomas Lane Jr. out in front, John Held in second, Julian Bellew in third, Zane Bailey back up into that 4 spot as you see them diving down to that apron section, going 3, 4, 5 wide through there. And then, the 69 truck tapping outside wall, able to hang on to it. Brett Rucker able to collect that truck after tapping that outside wall, not collecting anybody else as we're coming around to start our 100th lap. 50 laps left in this race, and as we see these guys diving down to that apron, the 27 truck of Brendan Gregg sitting in that 8th spot right now, trying to work his way back up. He was running up front early on, kind of got cycled back with pit stops and going on, but good racing action from these guys. There's no loss of action going on right now.
No kidding. I mean, the racing action so far has been on point all night long as this field showing no signs of giving in. The 13 of Bagwell side by side with Paul Witt, as Witt now going to take that one way to the inside, gets into the door of the 13, and is able to get himself sorted. And trouble for Scott Rankin as Rankin around again, and that is Well, it's not going to put him down a lap. He manages to keep himself out of the inside wall and keeps himself on the lap, but no yellow flag. And this is what happened to the 49 that sees him spin around and nearly lose another lap. Oh, Bobble, that was a great job. That truck was headed for the wall.
Man, that was a good save from him right there. That thing started sliding and then just hooked right so fast. But that's really going to push him back in the field even farther. He had worked his way up, got his lap back, trying to work his way back up in the field, and that might just step him back just a little bit farther now.
Stepping a bit further back, but for now, this field looking strong. Waylon McConnell, Jeff Gilmore going side by side for 8th and 9th as they try to lunge their way up and around down to the back straightaway. And there goes Paul Witt to the inside, picks off the spot from Gilmore. Gilmore trying to cut in across the nose of Birch to find the hole. And just manages to get in there as Charlie Birch will not opt to take it to the apron this time.
That's what really throws these guys off is you've got guys that are in that third lane or so, and they still want to dive onto that apron, and you got guys on that inside of them wanting to take the regular line. So that's where things really get dicey and extra spicy, as I like to call it, when they're coming through there and they're going across bumpers like that. So definitely leads to what could be some crazy wrecking, but good going on these guys right now as we're finishing our 105th lap. Thomas Lane still leading the way. John Held in second. Julian Bellew in third. And these guys are really pulling away right now from Zane Bailey in that 4th spot. So you've got about 3 seconds back. Oh, the 51 just getting really loose through there. Bellew really chasing that tail coming off of 4. But sitting right on that back bumper of John Held, the 47 truck. Good battle for 2nd and 3rd, but you can definitely see that the razor's edge of these trucks is that tail end is really just you're having to follow it around the turn to keep it going fast. But whole pack of trucks back here in about the 8th, 9th, and 10th spot. So still good nose to toes action. These guys starting to spread out just a little bit. This is what we were talking about, is when we get some green flags going, these guys start spreading out and getting single file. Oh, and the 51 truck of Julian Bellew just jumping on the inside of John Held, coming down the back straightaway. John getting that motor running down the back straightaway, but Julian dives down into turn 3 and hangs onto that 2nd spot.
Yeah, Bellew takes up the number 2 position as now he'll try to charge after Thomas Lane Jr., who currently leads the way. Of course, Lane started on the pole at Daytona, was not able to go for the race win. Could he pick up the top step of the podium here tonight from Avondale, Arizona? Carson Baytall to the inside of Paul Witt. Tracks up out of turn number 2 and onto the back straightaway. So we're looking strong for the time being, and as it stands, we are only about 2 laps away from this being the longest green flag run we've had so far all night.
Yeah, everybody's starting to settle in right now, and it looks like everybody's going single file all the way through the race right now. No real big 4 and 5 wides coming into that apron section. They're just, oh, as I say that, 3 wide coming into, what's that, 3 and 4 right now? Whoa, that's a little close action for these guys. Oh, turn 2 is what it was. They were still hanging on to it 2 by 2 and down the back straightaway. They tuck back into the single file into 3 right now as the 14 truck going around the outside, trying to get a pass done, coming across the start-finish line. Good run right now as they come down into turn 1 right now.
And Jim Coleman's program, the number 14, is a lap down right now, so just working his way past a lot of trucks that are still battling for spots on the lead lap. This for 18th on back as even further up here, Luigi Gonzalez and Brennan Gregg. Still packed up nose to tail as well as racing action looks set to continue here. And I tell you what, I mean, this has been one of the wilder races we've seen so far here tonight, but not as crazy as Julian Bellew's attempts to catch up to Thomas Lane Jr. The 51 is there, and Bellew going to gun for it down into turn number 1.
They caught Thomas up really fast. Julian and John both working nose to tail. See a little puff of smoke from Thomas touching that outside wall just a little bit. Thomas taking back that lead now, being a little strong, kind of holding his own as they come through the tri-oval kind of dog leg area. Thomas still leading the way as they're coming up on a lap truck. Not quite sure who that is, but Julian Bellew jumping down on that inside lane, coming into turns 1. But Thomas Lane fighting around that outside, down turns 2, down the back straightaway. Looks like he just gets a little puff of smoke on there. I don't know if it's just a kind of a net coat. It doesn't look like he's hitting anything, but just getting a little puff there as they're coming around the high side through across the start-finish line. Still nose to tail. John Held not too far back in that 3rd spot, but then you still got about a 3-second gap to the 4th place truck. Up into 4th now is Jim Duda in the 053. So great showing from Jim right now. We haven't really talked much about him tonight either, but all the way back up into that 4th spot right now.
And Bellew this time takes the lead down in the turn numbers 3 and 4. So the 51 truck to the point for the first time all night long. Thomas Lane Jr. tried to hunt back to the inside, but Bellew going to use this lap truck of George Rincon as a pick to work his way through turn numbers 1 and 2 down the back straightaway. And John Held going to get in there as well, as Bellew running the way already with the race lead.
Yeah, Julian's definitely running probably one of the fastest trucks right now. His last lap was a 27.7 to take over the lead. Thomas Lane with a 27.9, so 0.2 of a second, which is a lot of speed around this little 1 mile kind of, I don't want to call it a bull ring, but it is definitely a 1 mile short track kind of racing action here. You know, not super high banked like we were talking about earlier. It's definitely got about 18 degrees if I remember correctly off the top of my head. So it is plenty of banking, as you can see the difference when they're jumping down to that apron and jumping up into that section there. But then you get a little bit flatter turns right here coming out of turn 2. So it's, you know, all different banking and all these different turns is definitely leads to some crazy action in these trucks.
Jumping a bit further back in the pack, Luigi Gonzalez trying to keep Paul Witt and Waylon McConnell at bay, as Gonzalez going to take that one down in the number 8 spot with Paul Witt charging after him just behind. McConnell, meanwhile, keeping it up on the racetrack as Gonzalez and Moore scrap it out for spots inside the top 10. A lot of action still going on, but right now this field as spread out as it has ever been in all of the battles for spots that are in the main top 10 positions right now.
Definitely not wanting to jinx us at all, but this is probably the longest green flag run we've had right now. These guys getting going. We've got 32 laps to go as these guys really have settled down and running single file, trying to keep them together. Everybody's still going. Looks like the 429 truck going to be jumping into pit lane. Paul Witt jumping into pits right now. A couple other trucks joining them as well. Looks like the 47 jumping into pits as well right now. So a couple trucks jumping in for that final pit stop. You know, they were cashing out on another caution flag, but they definitely, everybody's settled down and keeping the green flag flying. So hopefully we can keep that going all the way out. As you see a great battle right now with Jim Duda, Zane Bailey, Luigi Gonzalez, and Waylon McConnell. 4-way battle for that 5th spot right now. Caution flag. I jinxed it. Man, the commentator's curse coming up.
Zachary Groover, the cause of yellow flag number 11 with 40 laps to go. And it's looking here like this may have been a single car incident coming around through turn numbers 3 and 4 all by himself. And I'm willing to bet he's going to spin the tires up here trying to get back on the power.
We've been talking about it this whole time. These trucks are definitely knife-edged around here to be fast. And the trucks almost push, especially when the tires start wearing coming in. And then on your exit, once the truck rotates through the center of the turn, they get a little hairy on the back end. And like you said, he may have gotten back on the throttle and just chirped the tires just a little bit. And around he went to give us our 11th caution.
So Beethoven, Duda, Greg, Bailey, and Moore all into pit road. Bellew, Lane, Rapp, and Rucker all staying out. They last pitted on laps 72 through 84. They're going to be out there on, about almost 40, 50 lap-old tires compared to a good chunk of the rest of the pack. And only just now do they come into pit road, I think, having realized their mistake. Critically, this would have put Scott Rankin onto the lead lap had Paul Witt not gone a lap down first with Held when they came into pit road.
Tough break for him right now. As you see everybody hoping that we go green flag the rest of the way. That was a good green flag run for these guys. Had some good going on. And just looking through the field right now, I've got the pit stop award's going to definitely go to George Rincon in the 28 truck. He's come into the pits 15 times so far. So his pit crew definitely getting to work on right now and earning their pay right now.
So Brandon Gregg leads the way. Carson Batel will be in the number 2 spot. All the trucks that are in front of these guys are waiting to get that wave around. Now, critically here, if Scott Rankin does not come into pit road and he stays out, he will get back onto the lead lap. So as of right this second, Rankin is actually back onto the lead lap here, and he'll get waved around the pace car. The bad news, though, he hasn't pitted since lap number 92. He cannot go to the end. So while he can get back onto the lead lap here, he's relying on at least another one more caution to keep him there.
And I'm being a betting man, I would bet that we're going to have another caution. We've had 11 of them so far in 120 laps. We're still holding on to about that 10 lap average for green flags and then a caution coming out. So it's still safe to bet that there will be at least one more caution. If we're averaging out at 10, we should end up with 2 or 3, and no telling at the end what if we go green white at the end. So action has been very spicy as the lights are out on that iRacing pace truck, as those wave around trucks are trying to make their way around. Scott Rankin working his way back onto the lead lap now, down in 21st. As your top 2 trucks, Carson Batal and Brendan Gregg, side by side, coming down the back straightaway, looking to lead the pack into another restart. Second row is Zane Bailey and Jim Duda. Jeff Gilmore and Luigi Gonzalez in the third row. As we come through the green flag, coming through the Geico restart zone, across the start-finish line and down that apron one more time.
26 laps to go. Brandon Gregg trying to hang on. Batal to the outside. Jim Duda trying to look to the inside. Not able to get down there as Batal working around that out.
75 truck spinning around.
Oh. Well, there's the yellow flag that Rankin was needing. And how was that not any worse? That had no reason to be as light as it was.
Yeah, that could have been a completely nightmare of a wreck. As you see the 75 coming out of turn 2 and just getting just lost it.
Oh, Bawalda!
Wow.
With a scramble to the inside line for the driver of the number 5, right on board with John Bawalda Jr.
Little bit of smoke coming through, and hello, there we are. Good dive from him down on the inside and staying out of that action.
So less than 25 laps to go. This is the yellow flag that quite a few drivers are hoping for. Scott Rankin can now pit and be good to the end, and hopefully this time we'll stay on the lead lap along with other drivers like Rincon and McConnell. Caution flag is out. Number 12, 24 laps to go. We'll be back in a moment. 23 laps to go. It'll be 22 this time by at the line as Brandon Gregg continues to pace around the back of the iRacing pace truck under our 12th yellow flag of the night. 2 races remain in March. We roll out to the Iowa Speedway 1 week from now. Then we take a 1-week break for the VSCA Sports Car Championships, 12 hours of Sebring before we return to Bristol Motor Speedway for the Admin Box 250 on March 30th. And then we'll, of course, kick off April with what is going to be our one and only road course race of the season at Watkins Glen in upstate New York.
That should be pretty interesting to watch. I am sorry that I might be missing that one depending on the date of it. But watching these guys, if they're struggling to get around, not struggling, but if they're deucing it out like this around Phoenix, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they can do when they actually have to turn right as well. So these guys leading the way down the back straightaway. You got Brendan Gregg on that inside line in the 27 truck. Carson Baytall on that outside line in that bright black and yellow 59. Your top 2 trucks leading them around turn 4 right now into the restart zone. Green flag one more time. We're green with 22 laps to go. As you see a big jump from the 053 of Jim Duda trying to get down on that inside as they come into turn 1 right now. Everybody 3, 2, and 3 wide coming around that turn. Just remember, coming out of turn 2, it really narrows up a little bit, and that's where a lot of action comes. Oh, somebody tapping that outside wall pretty hard coming into turn 2.
Someone getting up and into the outside wall as the rest of the pack trying to siphon it out. Carson Baytall, Brennan Gregg, and Jim Duda all trying to go at it for the race lead. Gregg way to the inside as Carson Baytall and Jim Duda side by side for the 2 spot. Trouble, 1 car going around. Gonzalez kicks the back end out and somehow wrangles it underneath him.
Wow, good save from Luigi there. Getting everybody to stack up a little bit because he lost so much momentum, and everybody doing a good job. But man, what a battle up front for these top 3 of Brendan, Jim, and Carson going at it. The 27 truck of Brendan Gregg diving down to that inside lane, just wiping back up in front. Here comes the 053 of Jim Duda around that inside lane coming into turn 2. Down the back straight they come, but that outside lane definitely, oh, big wreck coming on to turn 2 right now. Oh, that's including the 47 truck. Yep.
Jordan Vignair goes around, and looking like McConnell got out of that. Is that Ryan McRoberts? That got into that again? It is. Swafford, McRoberts, Campbell all having to come to a stop. Tom Gulker as well. And caution number 13. Scott Rankin way down low.
Yeah.
Yeah, way down on the racetrack. And the 2 got loose, rebounded up, and sent the 12 hard. So I sent the 73 hard to the outside wall. So that was a completely separate wreck that happened way up the road.
Yeah, and Rankin was way down on that inside, and I think he got the tail end of this and got tagged. Not quite sure. It looked like he was getting hit. Yeah, oh, just a little door bang there, but man, the 47 truck, tough break for John Held. He's been running up front quite a bit and took some hard damage on that run.
Yeah, that's a tough shot for John Held. He was actually the 2nd truck, so this was a continuation of that past incident. That's to send him around, and it was just a big stack from there. But Walda collected again, not lucky enough to avoid yet another incident. So approaching 17 laps to go. And at this point, I think it's just about anybody's game still. I mean, you've got, 23 trucks still on the lead lap out of the 39 that started this race. It's hard to tabulate how many trucks are actually still in the running order. But right now, I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be either Gregg, Baytall, or Duda to take the win tonight.
That last restart, they definitely jumped out hard and were pulling away. But Scott Rankin's in the 16th spot right now. So depending on how much damage he's accrued from running with those guys in the back of the pack, he's been inching his way up. And when these caution flags come out, he could, he could get up there a little bit. but we're closing in on 15 to go as they're going to come around the next time by. So we're closing in on the back side of the race for sure. But as we have been the last of the race, you know, about every 10 laps. So I would expect at least one more caution from these guys before the end of the race.
So 15 laps to go now. We'll be restarting, I think, with about 13 to go. That doesn't bode well, right? I mean, restarted 13 to go at the end of our 13th yellow. I mean, there's not many more signs that can tell me we're going to get another caution before this race is ending.
Yeah, but, you know, you look at these trucks up front, the 27 truck with a good tire mark on the side of it, then, you know, right next to him is the 59 truck of Carson Baytall, and a little bit of damage on that truck as well. I don't know that there's many trucks left on the track right now without some sort of damage on them. Everybody's been tagged or bumped or done something this entire race. So the iRacing pace truck diving into the pits. A strange pit lane here coming in off of turn 2, and you got to go all the way down that back straightaway in the pit lane. But once they twisted this track around, just made it real interesting. But we are wrapping up our 13th caution. We've got 15 laps still left to go. Carson Baytall and Brendan Gregg leading the pack down around turns 3 and 4. That teal and black 27 leading the pace, setting the pace, and restarting the Geico restart zone down the front straightaway, and they're going to dive down into that apron one more time with 14 laps to go. Jumping through there about 4 or 5 wide, then compressing back down into about 2 wide around turns 2. Leading the way is that 27 truck of Brendan Gregg as they come off of turn 2 down the back straight.
Multiple trucks slamming the outside wall out of the second corner. Carson Baytall continues to lead the way. Brendan Gregg trying to take that spot away down from the inside. Jim Duda in the mix. Look out as holy cow. The slider from Gregg across the nose of Duda. Carson Baytall takes the lead with 13 laps to go. Down into turn number 1. And that 59 truck quickly started to open up again while the rest of the pack is still embroiled in dogfighting just behind.
Yeah, there's just plenty of action all the way back through the entire field right now as those top 4 trucks or so is starting to pull away just a bit. But it's this whole pack of trucks about 3, 4, 5 wide. And like we've said a few times, they got to condense down to about 2 wide. You cannot do 3 wide coming around turns 2 onto that back straightaway. Or that's where cautions happen. That's where the guys are slapping that outside wall and diving across somebody else's front bumper.
Like that.
You just like that. On command, the 69 truck kind of getting pushed up. Brett Rucker getting a little high through there, cutting right in front of that 47 truck of John Held. As you see, great action right there with Luigi and John side by side right now. We got 11 laps to go, closing in on 10 to go. So if you're betting, man, ooh, hard hit from that red truck right there coming off of turn 2. Oh, and we're wrecking again.
Oh my gosh! Heavy shot into the outside wall for LeBon Van Leer. Numerous other trucks collected as well at the tail end of the pack. Swafford again. Colemansberger. McRoberts again. Allen is in this one. Cannot catch a break.
I was just about to say we're about due for another one with 10 to go, and it sure popped up there really quick.
McRoberts kind of came in at the very tail end of this whole mess. You can already see them sideways up the road in progress. And gosh, that is a hard lick into the inside wall for Michael Allen. Just got really punted in there. Talk about a heavy shot. And again, that's about as hard of a wreck as you're going to find at a track like Phoenix.
But Van Leer on that outside lane taking a huge hit, just kind of minding his own business against that outside wall, and somebody just came straight up into him and just pinched him into the wall. That was a massive hit from the 60 truck.
I think it was the 14 potentially that got turned around in this mess as goodness gracious. I mean, just if you think it's over, it's not over. And it was Colemansberger, I think. one of the main drivers that kind of had the biggest hits. This is following the 14, and oh, there goes the 71. So the 71 was already around, and trying to find which truck number Michael
5.
Allen is.
The 5 hit the 60 hard against that wall.
No kidding. I mean, talk about a bad run. There was the 29 truck that had one of the bigger hits. Take a ride with the 29 truck here, and you're going to see this develop up the road.
Yeah, just got loose in the 71, got hooked, and
Oh, my goodness.
Man. And he's just going backwards all the way down the back straightaway, keeping it going.
Ouch. It doesn't get much harder than that, and now with John Bawalda Jr., who's arriving on scene late, this is, well, a little bit earlier than intended, but it'll get the job done.
Don't see many guys diving into the pits. I think everybody's got a good run, and they should be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel with no problem right now. As we replay that wreck one more time, and just straight into Van Leer right there. That was a hard hit from him.
Brad Slago cutting right up the middle as well of that whole mess. Just barely managing to find a hole for the 052 to get around. Try to track down where Brad Slago is. He currently runs 25th and avoids some more carnage for some heads-up driving.
A little strange seeing a truck going backwards on the back straightaway there, but the pretty smart move for him, keeping it straight, keeping it going, and not getting spun around to cause even bigger wrecks.
So 6 to go when we take the green flag. One more caution puts us into our one and only green-white checkered attempt. Do we go green or do we get one more? I think we get one more.
Yeah, it's the way things have been going, I definitely would think we were going to get one more, but looking at that 13th spot, Scott Rankin working his way back up, closing in on that top 10 spot, and with another caution that he could inch his way up even farther. So keep an eye on that 49 truck in the 13th spot.
So we'll go back to green flag racing, this time by Carson Baytall and Brennan Gregg. Run 1-2, green flag, back in the air, 6 laps to go.
Ooh, nose to tail coming through that apron right now between Julian and Carson. Definitely that inside lane is faster as a 54 truck way down in that apron, trying to hang on to it. Man, that is a hard way to ride that apron around. On that flat apron, trying to keep your speed up with those guys side by side, touching doors, touching bumpers. Man, these guys are going at it with 5 laps to go.
Trying to gun it
all the way back. Man,
I think they got to make up whatever ground they can. I mean, this is go or go home at this point in time. Double file from most of the... Oh, look out! Paul Witt just got spun around to the inside wall. And that's it. We're going to overtime. Single truck spin on the back straightaway.
But look at that 7th spot right now. 49 truck making his way up. It's definitely going to be interesting here towards the end. The 49 truck definitely working his way back. 2 laps down. Working his way up to be in the 8th spot right now. So great run right now from Scott Rankin.
And it was Paul Witt that was the main driver who got spun around on the back stretch. And I think he got a bit of help from Scott Rankin here. The 429, was he already breaking sideways or... Oh, not Scott Rankin. It was Charlie Birch. Witt slid across the nose and just nowhere for Birch to go in that deal. And nose to the 429 into the inside wall. And, oh, Bagwell took a hit.
And we've been talking about this turn 2 into the back straightaway transition this whole race. And this is where probably, what do you say, over half of our cautions have come. And you brought it up. He says this is the action part. And you did not lie, as this has definitely been that action spot. Getting a little loose coming off of 2. got a little help from his friend there, but definitely, you know, like we said, this whole time, these trucks are razor's edge around this track. The banking is there to keep them in, but it's just enough where the trucks get super free and they're real easy to rotate around.
And this is where the 13 watched that wreck up the road and just spun the wheels up, tanked that wall pretty good into the outside, and well, that puts us to our one and only overtime attempt. It'll be a 2-lap sprint, and whatever happens, happens. One more caution, we end under caution.
So, Nolan, what are the odds of another caution with 2 to go?
High, very high. The Speed Cup Series had 2 overtime attempts, so they used both of them trying to get through a yellow flag. You get a caution that Phoenix in overtime, there's a pretty good chance of using all of them.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. And this is where that lead truck, I think that inside lane is definitely going to be the way to go. We've always seen that inside lane on restarts getting a good jump and getting a good stretch, because things could definitely get a little spicy. And if they can get out in front and hold that lead when that next caution comes out, if the next caution comes out, they will take the win. They don't even have to cross to the checkered flag. So this is going to be a poised position right now for Carson Batel in that 59 truck.
So green flag should be coming out next time by. I'm going to be honest, I'm touting Carson Batel to win this one. I mean, the inside line, even though these guys have the rule, right? You go on green, leader does not have freedom to choose when they launch. This track just favors the inside. I mean, it's almost impossible for the outside to get any kind of launch out of the gate.
Yeah, but we talked about it early on too, is that outside lane coming off of 2. If something happens around and they get a good run down that back straightaway, you know, that high RPM running off of 2 down the back straight, they could get out in front and not have to make it to that checkered flag. So we'll have to see how it works off as you see the iRacing pace truck dive into the pit lane. We are cruising down the back straight one more time. 15 cautions we've had so far, and we're coming down to what is going to be our green-white checkered finish. Next flag that flies is going to end the race for us. So you've got the 59 truck of Carson Batel leading the pack on that inside lane. The 27 truck of Brendan Gregg on that outside lane. Green flag comes back out. Carson Batel gets a good jump, dives down into that inside lane, and the 5th, Brendan Gregg joins him down there. 4 wide coming into turn 2. This is going to get hairy.
They just have to make it about a lap and a half as Carson Batel takes this one down the back straightaway. Will he be able to hang on? A lot of trucks fanning out down the backstretch. Couple of hits into the wall, but nobody going around. We will make it to the white flag. Carson Batel rebound off the outside wall. White flag in the air. Brendan Gregg and Julian Bellew trying to run down your race leader. Gregg will clear for the number 2 spot. Try to lunge this one in, but Batel continuing to pull clear up the road. Waylon McConnell and Paul Witt have both been turned to the back of the pack. We'll get to that in a moment, but right now Batel into 3 and 4. He'll hang on, and in a caution-filled race, he'll win the tire melting 150 from the Phoenix Raceway.
Great finish from these guys. Looks like we had a little bit of a wreck coming around on the white flag, but Carson Batel able to hold off with a great restart. Brendan Gregg finishing in 2nd. Julian Bellew finishing in 3rd. As you see that 3 and 4 wide getting a little hairy. 429 getting into the 75, spinning them out. But luckily they were able to get around and finish under the checkered flag. So great race from these guys after a very caution-filled race, but a good deserved win from the 59 of Carson Batel.
Batel will take another race win. I believe this is his 2nd in TNGG competition and his 1st of 2024 as he will burn it down on the front straightaway. Took the pole, had to take an end of the longest line penalty, and was still able to rebound back, drive all the way through the field, and take a solid race win here tonight.
Well-deserved donuts in that 59 truck. So good job as we watch everybody else kind of inch their way through the pit lane to get all wrapped up. Definitely high action racing here at Phoenix.
So after a long race and a hard-fought race here tonight from the Phoenix Raceway, let's take a rundown of what your official post-race results look like. And this was definitely a wild one, to be sure. It is Carson Baytall taking the win ahead of Brennan Gregg. Julian Bellew down in third with John Holiday in fourth. Jim Dudon fifth. Charlie Birch was sixth. Scott Rankin seventh. Luigi Gonzalez, Mike Bagwell, and LeBon Van Leer will round out the top 10.
In the 11th spot, you got Tom Golker. 12th spot went to Brent Rucker. John Held hang on to that 13th spot. Mike Campbell up 19 spots into 14th spot. Thomas Lane working down into the 15th spot after an early lead. Noah Swafford in the 16th spot. 17th spot, Jordan Vickner. Zane Bailey drops all the way down to the 18th spot. Paul Witt down into 19th. And Waylon McConnell rounding out your top 20.
Jeff Gilmore finishes in 21st, the last truck to finish on the lead lap. Dale Rapp was 1 lap down with Cody Ricketts and George Rincon both 2 down. Slago was 5 down. Both Groovers finish 8 laps down in 26th and 27th. Jim Colmansberger finishes 16 laps down with John Walton Jr., with Mike Allen down in a distant 30th.
And finishing in the 31st spot, RJ Buchanan, Ryan McRoberts in 32nd, Aaron Raymond 33rd, Selena Thompson finishes in 34th, Greg Pillar in 35th, Jamie Dunning in 36th, Christopher Howell in 37th, Rick Snyder in 38th, and dead last is Robert Amaral in the 77 truck.
And that does it then for racing action here tonight from the Phoenix Raceway. We'll get a chance now to speak to all of the podium finishers here at the end of the night, and we'll be looking, of course, to kick things off first and foremost with your race winner, Carson Baytall, the driver that comes home on the top step of the podium. And goodness gracious, it was a very, very long race tonight, but I think Carson Baytall has a win that he can be proud of here in this one. We'll bring up your race winner to talk to him now. Carson, you start this race from the pole, you're forced to the back of the field, and you drive all the way through to take the race win after a very long race. Kind of walk us through what the emotions are.
Oh man, it's my second time doing this, like getting a penalty early on and having to make my way back up to the front at Phoenix. And man, it's a workout here. Kind of forget about that. By the end of that, I'm sweating.
The strategy games seem to be a little bit everywhere in the course of the night. No doubt a lot of the yellow flags make it no easier trying to gamble on where everybody else is going to go. When you have so many yellow flags that break things up, how does it impact how you make your strategies as the race goes along?
So I took tires really early on because I noticed we had it felt like an extra set of tires versus what we had last year. And I knew last year I had saved an extra set. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to burn an extra one early just for that extra track position. And I'm just going to blitz through the field. And then I had a couple other teammates that stayed out longer and it kind of backfired on them. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to middle this when it kind of cleared up a little bit. I stayed out a little longer. So everything was really dynamic throughout the race. And I noticed I kept kind of ended up in the same spot, no matter what I was really doing. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to really just blow through one set of tires near the end of this and try and get up to the front, get that clean air. And that's what really made the difference. As soon as I got to the front, then we had that just caution. But I was able to just get that clean air just made that world of difference. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't in clean air.
And looking forward now towards the racing action that comes on up at Bristol Motors. Sorry, not at Bristol. The Iowa Speedway. Get a little bit ahead of myself. It's a very fast short track, one of the fastest tracks that's under a mile that's out there. What can you expect to see from the 59 truck when we swing out to corn country?
Flip a coin. I've actually never raced at Iowa on iRacing. In my 10 years of being on iRacing, never raced Iowa, never touched it.
Well, who knows? Maybe you'll be able to find that it's one of the tracks that fits your style. But for now, we'll wish you the best of luck, and congratulations on taking a hard-earned race win here tonight from Phoenix.
Thank you.
How's Carson Baytall joining us up here, taking the race win at the end of the night. We'll roll on down to the driver that finishes in the number 2 spot. It is the driver, the number 27, Brendan Gregg, and you are standing by with our runner-up here.
Brendan Gregg, what an insane race that was. Your 27 truck had some good side damage early on. I don't think there was any trucks that really had any straight panels on them, but just take us through your race. You were always seemed to be up front and really battling out with these guys up top.
Honestly, for probably the first, I'd say 75 laps, I did not think I had better than a 5th place truck. Chris and a bunch of the other guys up there were way faster. Ended up jumping them through, I think it was pit strategy and a couple lucky cautions. After that, got a bit of panel damage, got that fixed up, and then just kept sending it 3-4 wide down on the bottom until it ended up working out.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the caution field race definitely shuffled the field up quite a bit, and you saw Raymond and Rankin were both of them are up front and flying, and a couple of other trucks were up front and then just getting tangled with some cautions after getting shuffled around in pits. But what's your mindset with so many cautions going on? Are you expecting another one, so you're planning your pit stops, or what's going through your mind with knowing that we're going to 10 laps and we're getting another caution?
At first, I was definitely tempted to pit a couple times there. Then, luckily, my teammates convinced me otherwise of it. So ended up being a track position race for the most part. Less pit stops, the better. So ended up making that work out. And then there it was just seemed to be fairly easy the last 20 or so laps.
Nice, a great run from you tonight, Brennan. You want to, while you're up here on the podium, do you want to give a shout out to anybody? Do you thank anybody for running tonight?
Yeah, want to thank Thomas and the rest of the admins for running the league. AJM for helping me out with all that, with all the strategy calls and everything else. Wanted Goons for hanging out with us, working with us a little bit. And
Awesome.
Good win for Carson as well.
No, definitely great win from Carson, but even, just a great second place for you as well. You did an awesome job, and we look forward to seeing you next week in Iowa.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That was our second place truck, number 27, Brendan Gregg, bringing it home in second. And Nolan, I think you've got our third place truck.
I do indeed. It'll be Julian Bellew who will bring it home for the number 51 machine up on the podium. And, well, Julian, you are one of only 3 trucks tonight that finishes exactly where they started. And I know it was kind of all over the place for that number 51 machine all night long. Kind of just walk us through it because, goodness gracious, what a ride.
Yeah, our People of the Woods Tundra TRD Pro was really fast. I mean, I blame myself on that. Made a lot of mistakes. Spun out twice, basically. Yeah, we were playing the strategy right. They pitted before us. I went ahead and put some tires on at the end. Thought I could maybe drive up there and take the lead with the long run, but as many cautions as we had towards the end, the tires just equaled out, and we kind of just fell put where we were, and yeah, just got to come home with a P3, which is, I mean, what I can ask for in this chaos field,
To say that this race was a bit up there is I think putting it mildly. I mean, the strategy game was everywhere tonight. So was a lot of the racing action. How does it impact your race mentality when you see these yellow flags started to stack up after the first wave?
I'm just hoping I don't get caught up in any of these cautions, because I mean, as long as you keep your truck clean, you can gain some spots on these restarts. But man, every restart felt like it was just getting more and more aggressive. So it's like I kind of had to up my game every single restart to try and gain spots. And people were taking it 3-4 wide, and it was just a crazy race right there.
And looking forward now to the overall championship going forward. It's been a wild 3 races for that 51 machine to kick off the season. Can we expect to see you keep on moving forward when we go racing at Iowa?
Oh yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we were postponed the past few weeks with some technical difficulties. So hopefully we can get back on the right track and gain more speed as the weeks go on, and we can maybe get this in victory lane.
Well, we'll wish you all the best then when we go racing 1 week from now in Newton, Iowa. Congratulations in the meantime, taking that number 3 spot, and we'll see you next week as always.
All right, thank you.
And that was Julian Bellew to bring it home with the number 3 spot on the podium. And I have to say, Mike, I mean, that race, it got out there, right? I mean, I think this is one of those races where a lot of the field, they lost control. And who knows? I mean, it could impact the mentality of quite a few racers. It does make you wonder what we're in for when we go racing at Iowa at a track that's even shorter.
Yeah, Iowa, it plays similar because it's so kind of low banking. But like you said, it is a shorter track. It's a little tighter in the turns. It's not going to be as spread out. They don't have that apron to drive down into. But that could also play into a better hand because then we're not getting 4, 5, 6 wide, whatever it is, through that apron area, and everybody's got to be stuck doing that 2 wide or so. But Iowa is still a really wide track. Those turns are super wide, so we should have some good action there. And then following that is going to be Bristol, and that's where just the chrome horns come out. So that's definitely going to be some heavy action that week as well.
There's a lot of racing action coming on up as well on Green Flag TV over these next 2 days or so. Don't forget the SRL Next Gen Cup Series will swing out tomorrow night to Sin City to go gambling in Las Vegas. And then the High Tide Racing League Emmett Race Designs Cup Series returns with the Gen 4 cars to Daytona International Speedway to kick off racing action for the Sim Wrap Market 250 on Monday night. That's all we got for us here from Avondale, Arizona. My name is Noel Rempel alongside Mike Braun, bringing you all of the action from start to finish. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we get set to duke it out in Newton, Iowa.